Hello everyone, how you doing today? Thought I would show some updates on this carrier again. I've been kind of working on this a lot, mostly on the interior, but I did texture a section of the hull right now, this area over here. And obviously it's got the Martian texture scheme on it right now, but um, this is pretty cool, and what I've been trying to do all along is to have it so it can be two different races. So essentially, between these two pellets here, it changes things around enough to switch the races around, and actually kind of inverts some of the colors a bit. Um, so like if I apply this to the ship now, it looks considerably different than what it just did. Um, so that is cool, and I'm going to try to have that same setup for all the Martian stuff so they can be a different theme. And let me just switch it back here a second to the first color palette. And let me show you some of the inside. Now that's where most of my work has been right now, is trying to get the interior laid out and get sections set up for other authors to do. And my method of doing that, now I started with Crazy Z here, and basically I figured, hey, I'll give him this chunk over here to do recreation, and that's just one of the authors. So what I'm actually doing is setting up like different zones in the ship, and I'm doing that by selecting boxes. So essentially, like, this is Crazy Z's area, and then you can see exactly where the borders are. So he's got this entire section over here, and I've been labeling off like doors that can't change due to they have to connect to other areas, or elevators, as I just see for connect basically. Um, and even this area over here has potentially several floors in it. Um, but that's completely up to the author on what he wants to do. If he doesn't want all the floors, if he however he wants to do it. So that is totally cool. And I kind of got a bit of a glimpse already on what Crazy Z's been working on. It's looking really cool in this area here. Now, as in all the other authors, I'm still working out details. I figured I'd start there as kind of a test to make sure that this whole setup is going to work. But then I also realized that I need to prepare the area. In other words, like in this section, because he was going to do this, I realized I needed to like texture it and get the exterior ready and different areas like even below it. So like I worked on some walls over here as well. Um, anyway, to show you what I have been doing on the interior and trying to get it prepared for all the different authors and different areas. Again, I'm going to say that this ship is absolutely enormous. When I started laying out the interior, it somehow got even bigger. But so we have our two main runways that come in from the front of the ship over here. So there's two sides like this, and I started skinning these walls because I needed to, in order to start exporting these other areas the same way to other authors for different things. Now, here is kind of, well, definitely a work in progress, but kind of what the hangar area is looking like. Almost like an arena. Um, and literally, there's like buildings inside this ship, and these buildings aren't very small either. Like, there's a building over on this side and this side, and then the center structure. Each one of these buildings have multiple floors in them, and they're actually pretty big. Like over here, going out to this area over here, um, and actually goes up over to other floors. It's really hard to explain, but I've been getting a little bit lost in my own ship right now. It's got so many places and rooms and levels and different areas. Some of these areas walk all the way around the hangar. Like if you're up on the top floor on one of these sides over here, you actually can cruise around on these sidewalks, that kind of go over above the hangar doors and get all the way to the other side of the ship over here, which has again multiple levels and multiple floors and just big open spaces for all kinds of stuff. I've been setting up like an elevator system, several elevator systems, I'll say. Unlike other ships where I try to focus around one or maybe two elevators, this one's already got like, I think 6 or 7 main elevator systems getting around the ship. And there's just so many different places. Now, the elevator that I'm sitting at now will get you to every deck on the ship, including the bridge, which is actually way the heck up here. And some other temporary areas, like where I got a bunch of parts right now, I've got to clear that out. And I was kind of mapping out this double floor room, which is going to be kind of a command and control center for the ship. And this is right below the bridge. So the bridge is up over here. But also when you go way down on the ship, you actually go below the hangar floor to some more areas. And then there's, granted all these blocks are going to be changed and smoothed out, but then there's like an area that will get you underneath the ship, heading over to the other side of the ship, and some other doors that dump you out into other areas of the hangar. Well, basically, I've just been putting a lot of time and thought into trying to make all this work and figure out what areas are going to be done by who. Now, I know Red Baron currently wants to work on like farm type stuff, and I'm trying to figure out exactly where I want the farm at. There's a lot of places farms could go. Whole lot of places really, and I'm also thinking too on these buildings that they're going to have different stuff in them, so it's going to be different from like the right to left. Like this building over here might be crew oriented stuff, and this side might be like a hospital and a brig and other things, and then the center section here is going to be all kinds of other things. I was planning on kind of getting some crafting and stuff set up in this area over here. And back over here, I was thinking could be a massive area for like some crew quarters and other things like that. These also have access doors that will get you out to, well, at least on this floor, out to these runways. You can go through the runways, through the center section or the side sections. There's just so many places in the ship right now. So it's taken a while, but yeah, this is going to be really, really cool. And all I can say is I'm working on trying to get all the areas set up for all the different authors yet. And I just got to get my part done. I got to make sure that my copy paste box is going to work. So that content can be brought into the basically master version of the ship, I guess you could say, or the working version of the ship. But yeah, it's enormous. Pretty excited about it though, very excited about it, and that's kind of why I've been focusing most of my time on just trying to get this thing laid out right now. And it's taking quite a while to do. And I'm starting to, refine areas that I kind of quickly laid out right now. But I'm trying to keep a lot of areas untouched to give the author like full control of the area to do what they want to do with it. My biggest thing though is some areas have like a joining floor or joining walls. Like when I'm building out rooms, I will replace a ton of the blocks to make like beams and things in the floor. So I'm trying to keep the areas separated as well. So like maybe like someone will get this first floor area over here, and then I'll give someone else the third floor area, and I'll keep the center area open for the time being, so those two areas could merge together, and then I could build out like a in-between floor at some point in time. So it's a little complicated. I've never tried to do this before. I've always pretty much built my own things from ground up, but I do think this method will work and should be fairly easy to do and allow everybody to work on their part at the same time. And then I get the files back and I copy paste them back into this ship, and then everything is should be good. And then I gotta like fill in all the areas. Now on things I plan on doing myself, I plan on doing these big stretches basically. That's why I've been kind of working on the hangar and these runways and stuff like that. I figure I'll get all that done, but I'm going to leave a lot of these rooms available for other authors to take a look at, depending on how much area they actually want to get into. Some of these rooms do get pretty big, like this one here. I could think of all kinds of stuff you could have in here. Where the ship is sitting at currently in size class, it's at size class 22. I did expect this to be in the 30 range, so it's on par with that. But despite adding probably about 7,000 carbon substrate blocks to the ship, building out the interior that you see here now, CPU-wise really didn't get affected much at all. It's about 7.7 million CPU, and that's with a shield and warp and things like that installed. Does not yet have any constructors. And that I'm sure will suck up some CPU, but it depends how many constructors I put into it. Now, of course, there's going to be a module ship that also docks to the front of this, and right now I just kind of set up a temporary wall in the center area. This wall will get changed and altered and be able to be used with that ship and then joined to some internal rooms, and I'm also kind of leaving some space for over here right now. So, and some of these other areas too might have individual like hallways and then rooms sectioned off inside these areas. But I'm going to try to leave that up to the author, because I'd like to give them as much freedom as I can to do what they feel they want to do in their area. And then, of course, reviewing all the different areas that the ship should have. That's another thing. Now, a big thing with me too is, you know, although I thought about having farms up here, and I probably still will, there's a lot of space for it. Like other CVs that I made in the past, I like to try to keep everything kind of tight for functions of the ship. And the tightest area would be on this rear elevator, which gets you to all decks, including the bridge up above. It would probably be more sensible for me to try to keep all the or a good chunk of the function of the ship in this area over here, but that doesn't work out quite as well because I got so much room over here. So I'm just trying to plan it out, and I'm still at it. But I don't know. You can kind of see where this is coming out at right now, and my gosh, this thing is big. And I thought it might seem a little bit smaller once I started getting interior blocks in there, but no, it's just getting more and more space, more and more rooms, and I could make a lot more rooms in here too. Honestly, I could cut into this hangar more on the ceiling and build up even rooms going across the top here if I wanted to, but it just doesn't need any more space. I mean, it just doesn't. So having this big open area here, I think is kind of cool. Like a lot of these rooms on the side as well, you get like this hangar view from. So you and almost like an arena in the middle, and I think that would be kind of just a cool little plan. And this thing is drastically bigger than the Creel war carrier as well. So I didn't realize how much bigger it was until I actually started kind of comparing it. Now, the Creel war carrier was the biggest ship I built to date, but this thing kind of slaughters it. It's just more space to deal with yet, and it gets a little rough trying to plan on all these areas and things like that. But it should be cool, and I'm really glad that there's a bunch of authors, willing to do a section and make this a co-op project, and that'd just be very, very cool because I don't have to do everything myself, which is great. As it goes, basically, it's still gonna take a long time to do this ship up, despite all the authors working on it, but. Be very cool. As in the other authors that are working on it, pretty soon I will start to get all those other areas mapped out. I basically did this first section here as a test with Crazy Z, just to make sure I've got my stuff right, because the last thing I'd want to do is say, hey, work on this, and then be like, oh, we can't use that because the ship got updated and I didn't plan it out very good. Sorry. So no, I don't want that to happen. So I just got to take my time and make sure these areas are set and ready to go before I hand them off to other authors. And once I do hand them off to other authors, in basically the bounding box, I guess you could say, like that. Basically, I can't touch that area until I get it back from the author. So that's why I textured this in the first place, so I could send that out and not have to worry about it and know that it's already skinned. And I actually set up the blocks on the bottom side already, so I can, when it's finished and I get it back, I can paste it into place and everything's hunky-dory. And that's what I got to do for all the areas for all the different authors. And I'll be working on that some more today as well. And yeah, that Marauder I still haven't got out. Man, I suck. I said I was going to do it so many times now. I'm going to try to do it later today. I still need to take a photo shoot for the thing, but I've been so preoccupied on this, and then honestly ran into a little bit of time constraints on things. So that's basically where it's at right now. But anyway, progress is definitely being made, and it would be really cool, and it might be pushing up the time schedule some, but there's one thought about trying to release this just before Christmas. See how that works out, but I don't know. It may or may not happen. It depends on everyone's schedule and how much time this is actually going to take to complete. All right, but anyway, you all have a good weekend. I will get another ship out soon. That Marauder. Next week, next week Sunday, I do plan on releasing the other carrier, the smaller carrier, the asymmetrical one, and I'll be just kind of working on this ship an awful lot here. I've got a huge amount of the body to texture yet, and the interiors to do up myself as well, so it's taking a lot of time to do it for sure, but yeah, totally fun project, and this thing should be pretty interesting in the end. It's going to be very expensive though, although I'm trying to be as conservative as I can in costs. And like doing the interior of carbon substrate and things like that. If we're looking at the build time, it's already at 35 hours, and it's only going to go up in build time. And I can't, the intent due to where I'm at with CPU is to leave it combat steel for the hull, but it's a single block thickness. It's not the double block thickness like the Creel War Carrier or the Nemesis Battlecruiser. That will help on weight and size class and things some. Not a huge lot, but anything I can do, the better. And I realize that carbon substrate is very CPU friendly, and therefore adding bazillions of blocks of it didn't really affect the CPU much at all. So I'm pretty happy about that too, which makes this, despite the size of the ship, I believe should be 100% CPU compliant at Tier 4 in the end, which would be nice. All right, well, y'all have a good weekend. See you later.